Conspiracy theorists are claiming the White House has hired an actor to pose as Melania Trump's body double. Critics have examined this video of the First Lady standing by her husband, President Trump, 5 days ago. They believe there are differences in her hair, nose and mannerisms.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And what a ridiculous story that was. And even more absurd that 7 News thought it worthy of coverage. But 7 was not alone in taking it seriously. TV and news sites around the world embraced the Melania body double story after it was kicked off by this tweet from a UK journalist.
Absolutely convinced Melania is being played by a Melania impersonator these days. Theory, she left him weeks ago.
And with that light-hearted quip, a conspiracy was born, with the fake Melania theory taking wing on social media and rapidly alighting on mainstream news sites.
Is Melania leaving President Trump? After body double rumours, you can now bet on it.
Soon the possibility was being examined on British breakfast TV shows and USA's The View.
And really wants to be involved in that process.
That's not Melania. That's the wrong nose. The girl has a different nose.
And it was also making headlines in the New York Daily News and USA Today and popping up on all the main Australian news sites, whether owned by Fairfax, News Corp, 7 West or Channel 9. And 7 Sunrise was even pondering if the conspiracy could be true.
People took to the internet and said, look, her nose is different. It's more angular than the Melania's.
Like, I was prepared to mock this story this morning because most things that come out of the White House can be quite ridiculous these days. But when you break this down, this could be happening.
Could be happening? Well, yes. And as Ann Sanders told us on 7's Morning News...
It's not the first time rumours of a body double have engulfed US politics. Many people claimed Hillary Clinton used a look-alike during last year's election campaign when she was suffering health problems.
Which simply goes to show there are nutters everywhere you look. But fortunately, 7 News in Perth wasn't so credulous or contemptuous of its viewers and decided...
This photo taken later in the day shows pretty clearly it is Melania.
Oh yes, maybe it is. So, after a week of this nonsense, the London journalist who started it all fessed up and reflected on how absurdly easy it had been.
I had feared the process of creating conspiracy-based fake news would be a lot more inconvenient, but I needn't have worried. It turned out to be something I could do in a few moments while exiting South Kensington Tube Station.
Last laugh, however, to Sarah Lemarquand on 9's Today Show, who punctured the body double bubble by saying...
I think that we're looking at the wrong person. If there's an impersonator there, surely it's the guy that's pretending to be president of the United States.
Oh, yes!
Come on.
And while we're watching 9's Today Show, let's look at the extraordinary fuss surrounding Lisa Wilkinson, who walked out of the network last week to join Channel 10. And in doing so, shone the spotlight on what commercial TV stars get paid and what they do for their money. As 9 boss Hugh Marks revealed to the Daily Telegraph last week...
I went to an incredible amount of trouble to build that $1.8 million package for her. She wanted $2.3 million. It wasn't a $200,000 shortfall to Carl's $2 million magic number. It was $500,000.
It's rare to see commercial TV negotiations break apart in public. But with the media framing Lisa's departure in terms of gender equality... and 9 being unfair to Australia's most loved TV star, Marks clearly felt he needed to go on the attack.
9 boss hits out at runaway star.
Lisa, you ain't Carl.
And Marks then offered reasons why Lisa's co-host Carl Stefanovic deserved to get more. 1, because he hosts 9's rolling coverage of major crises like floods, terror or tsunamis. 2, because he does several episodes a year of 9's flagship programme, 60 Minutes. And 3, because he also fronts a prime-time show this time next year, which has been pulling in big audiences. What's more, it seems Wilkinson has actually earned more than him for most of her time at the network, and it was an approach from 7 that sent Carl's salary soaring. But Marks cited other reasons why they couldn't meet Wilkinson's demand for parity, telling the telly...
She has a number of commercial rights with other parties. Her arrangement with the Huffington Post restricts our ability to engage with her digitally.
Wilkinson was hired by the Huffington Post in 2015 to be their Australian editor-at-large in a deal said to be worth $250,000 a year, for which she has so far done a total of 10 videos, like this one, Cooking in Her Kitchen with Nigella, and 18 blog posts, including this personal account of how a, quote, slip in the shower ruined my Italian holiday. Nine wanted these articles for its own websites, but couldn't have them. So in the case of the broken arm, it had to resort to rewriting her copy instead. As Hugh Marks summed it up to the telly,
I hate the fact we have to compare her with Karl Stefanovic, but with him, we have all those rights. With Lisa, we do not.
Lisa has also been earning extra by doing ads for Nutrilife, spruiking supplements like aged garlic, for which she's said to earn another $200,000 a year.
Nutrilife Kyolic Aged Garlic Extract may help to support healthy blood pressure and cholesterol levels.
Media Watch questioned the wisdom of that deal for Wilkinson only last month. And now, in the nasty PR spat that's followed her departure, Nine has hinted it was never keen on it either, with one insider telling the Sydney Morning Herald that
it posed a threat to her credibility as a legitimate news journalist and commentator.
But it's hard to take Nine seriously, given it was getting a large amount of guaranteed advertising from Nutrilife and was offering to increase her fee from the deal as part of the $1.8 million package she rejected. In any case, Wilkinson is now at 10, owned by the cashed-up American giant CBS and said to be on a $2 million package. So, how will they get value for money if Nine could not? Wilkinson's main job will be to host the Sunday Project, which does not rate well, and co-host the project 2 evenings a week. So, will she appeal to its younger audience? Who knows, but her $2 million pay packet could cause problems. Despite publicly welcoming her arrival, Carrie Bickmore, who's on a mere $500,000, was reported to be angry. And The Guardian's Amanda Mead soon asked the question on everyone's lips.
If 10 is going to pay Wilkinson more than $2 million, then what is it going to do about the project stars Carrie Bickmore and Waleed Ali, who are paid less than a quarter of that?
Do I hear calls for pay parity with Lisa? Watch this space. And still on the subject of breakfast telly, which remains just about the most profitable slot on the networks, how's this for some fabulous free advertising?
The new Qantas Dreamliner has just touched down in Sydney after a flight from Seattle. Eddie, lucky enough to be on board that plane, she's just disembarked. Eddie, how was it?
Nat, I'm pretty sure there was less fanfare for the Wright brothers' first flight. This certainly has been a big build-up throughout the week.
And Edwina's not kidding. 7 and 9 both went live for the Dreamliner landing, but it all started 5 days earlier across the Pacific.
The new Qantas airliner, which will fly passengers non-stop from Perth to London, is about to be unveiled in the US. And today, reporter Lara Vella is live at the Boeing factory in Seattle. Lucky Lara.
Lucky Lara indeed. In fact, lucky press pack. Some 30 reporters perched up the pointy end of Qantas flights to Seattle, enjoying business class hospitality all the way. Followed by free first-class accommodation and slap-up meals. And with reporters in place, morning TV had hourly updates.
Eddie is there as it happens. Morning, Eddie. What's so special about these new Dreamliners?
Good question, Koshi. Are they the biggest?
A lot smaller than the Airbus A380, only a capacity here about 236 passengers compared to about 500 or so on the Airbus.
So that's a no. But they must be new, right?
It's actually the 615th 787 delivered. So these aircraft are in service all around the world.
Ah, right. But they will carry the Flying Kangaroo further than ever, non-stop from Perth to London in March next year, when it will doubtless be news all over again. Meanwhile, it was enough for cash-strapped newsrooms to dispatch reporters and crews for 6 days to cover every thrilling moment of the handover. And enough for Sunrise to cross live to Edwina Bartholomew 3 times on Monday and 5 times on Tuesday for the big reveal of the new plane's name.
Isn't she beautiful?
She certainly is. Great Southern Land, and Ivor Davies is so stoked about it, Koshi. He's actually here.
And there the Icehouse rocker was on 7 News that night to keep the party going around the clock. 10 SBS and Sky News were all there too, along with a gaggle of print journalists, led by the Fin Review's Joe Aston, pictured here with Qantas boss Alan Joyce and celebrity chef Neil Perry. Plus Fairfax's Fiona Carruthers, Craig Platt and Nick Toscano.
Qantas closes in on long-haul flight dream.
And Edward Boyd, Jana Frawley and Annabelle Hepworth at News Corp.
Dream of the crop.
But at least all those journalists disclosed.
The riders travelled to Seattle as guests of Qantas.
As did 10 and Sky before each of Aaron Young's regular reports.
Sky News reporter Aaron Young flew to Seattle as a guest of Qantas and Boeing.
But no such disclosure on 7 or 9. Not on Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday. Either on television or in all those happy snaps posted to their personal social media feeds. Nor even on Thursday from Waikiki Beach for a sunny 5-star stopover at one of Hawaii's best hotels. Although this got shamelessly close.
You know what? This junket business is a tough job and someone has to do it. On behalf of all of us freeloaders who've come along for the ride, thanks so much for having us.
It's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And you look great in those pyjamas, really do.
Love it. They call this the Qantas Kool-Aid. And we're drinking it.
She sure was, by the gallon. But in a tough week for Carl, with his co-host leaving, he at least cut through the spin.
Lara Vella is obviously inside that cabin at the moment and enjoying the largesse on behalf of Qantas. I mean, in the last 4 days, she's had junket after junket after junket. It's a great PR exercise for Qantas, obviously.
It sure was. So, what was it worth? Well, as Alan Joyce told Channel 9...
When we announced that we were going to do the Perth-London service, I think we got $80 million of free publicity in Europe.
Multiply that by tens of millions of dollars more, with a week of free plugs on every commercial TV network. Lucky journalists and lucky Qantas. And finally, with Christmas now just 2 months away, 2GB's Alan Jones has been hoping that Sydney will be doing a lot better than in previous years with its celebrations.
I was in Macau a couple of years ago for Christmas, and it's a Muslim country, and I couldn't believe it. There they were singing Christmas carols, and they had Christmas hats on their heads, and they loved the Christian festival. When I got back to Sydney and came into Sydney Airport, not a piece of music, not a bit of bunting, nothing. No Christmas trees, no nothing.
Yes, despite it being a Muslim country, Christmas in Macau is much bigger than here. Can you believe it? And it's a point that Alan just loves to make. Back in July, when he saw headlines claiming Jesus and Christmas could be banned from Queensland schools, he asked in frustration,
"What the hell is happening to our country?"
And then told us grumpily how much better they do Christmas in you know where.
I have been to Macau, a predominantly Muslim country, and at Christmas time, even in the shops, they're all wearing Santa Claus caps, and there are Christmas carols being played out everywhere. Then you come back to Australia, to Sydney Airport, there is not a sound of a Christmas carol anywhere.
What an abomination.
What an abomination.
An abomination indeed. A Muslim country doing it better than us. And in the run-up to Christmas 2016, Alan was riffing about it too.
I spent one Christmas a couple of years ago in a Muslim country.
But just how Muslim is Macau? Well, not very. According to the US State Department,
nearly 80% of the population practices Buddhism.
And out of around 597,000 people who live there, the tally is...
Muslims, estimated at 400 persons.
Who are served by just one mosque. And the head of the China Institute at ANU, Professor Richard Bigby, backs this up, telling MediaWatch,
"The number of Muslims is very small indeed. It's largely Buddhist and Catholic."
Which is why there are more than 140 Christian churches and chapels in the tiny territory. And Professor Rigby says there's good reason why Macau, which is now part of China, has these spectacular Christmas lights, which Alan found so impressive.
They celebrate Christmas, as they were part of the Portuguese Empire for several hundred years.
Not quite sure why no one told Alan. And you can read more about tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, and contact me or MediaWatch on Twitter. And make sure not to miss Media Bites every Thursday. But for now, until next week, that's it from us. Goodbye.